This year she is 20 years old. Her job every day is to deliver goods. Because it's late, she leaves very quickly. She passed the red light. The traffic police also ignored her because she was cute. She delivered the food to Rin Tianjin. Because he saw that the delivery girl was late, he refused to accept the food. But she also refused to give in to him. She immediately threw the food on his head and ran away. These are two Ren Xianjings majoring in ancient medicine, both sitting and learning about the successor of the Acupuncture acupuncture method. And Tianjin was angry and in a deceitful mood. He was very angry. He was also late for school today. As soon as he arrived at the classroom, he was immediately asked by the teacher about today's lesson, and of course his mind was on the delivery girl that morning. His head was completely blank now, so he didn't know how to answer the teacher. As for Tutu, she was currently delivering food at an old apartment building. Because she kept calling and couldn't find anyone, so she left the food on the door. When she was about to leave, the door suddenly opened. Inside is the wife being beaten. Feeling dissatisfied, she immediately helped her wife. She started beating the other husband. Finally overwhelmed the brute. She beat her husband and broke his arm, and soon the police team arrived at the scene. They took the wife's statement and found out that she had been beaten by her husband many times, but did not dare to report it to the police, because she was afraid that her husband would have to go to prison. So she said that because she didn't give Tutu a good opinion, she assaulted the couple. Act crazy, bother people, and then receive bitter consequences. Tutu had to go to the police station to give a statement. Suddenly she bent down again as if she had a stomach ache. The concerned police officer immediately asked about her situation, but actually she was just too hungry after a hard day of exercise. The police officer was also confused when she received this strange information. This person is Ren Xianjing, who is currently showing the grandparents a photo of Tutu's parents, and both of them are traditional medicine doctors, and Tutu is the daughter of those two people. Now is the right time to bring Tutu to inherit the true tradition of Acupuncture acupuncture. Tianjin is at home having dinner with his family. Although he lives in a family and making medicine is the main occupation of the entire clan, but the son was satisfied but not satisfied because his passion was not to draw medicine to save people. Grandfather saw that his grandson was stubborn, so he also brought in some food and begged him to eat it so he could grow up quickly. The next day, Tutu was lucky enough to have Ren Xianjing, a specialist in ancient medicine, sponsor her out of the cell. He went to see Tutu, and she still didn't understand what happened. Thinking about it, she still couldn't remember ever meeting this man. He said he wanted to accept her as a student in the field of traditional medicine. Tutu initially said that she had not graduated from elementary school, but he knew the truth that she had graduated from high school. Feeling this strange, Tutu looked like she was about to leave, but realized his car was not at the police station. So she asked Ren Xianjing to give her a ride to get the car. Sitting in the car, Ren Xianjing said that following him for one day would cost 100 yuan. If you want to do it, you can go now. Tutu quickly agreed. He then took her to a place that made her skeptical and want the money right away. His mouth kept talking, which made him angry. When she stepped inside, she saw that everyone inside was wearing medical gowns and looked very dignified. She still didn't understand anything until Ren Xianjing pulled her to sit on the chair. After that, the deep voice group introduced to everyone that today, Tutu officially accepted his ancestors. Tutu could only turn to look at life with doubtful eyes, feeling like the sun of truth was binding her heart, but she was completely cruel. But the hand still had to bow a few times to finish, and after that, after saying a few words, Ren Xianjing recognized her silence. Then Ren Xianjing told everyone that she was the leader. They all bent down, and at this moment Ren Xianjing's son ran over. But hate what God gives you. The incredibly beautiful boy that Tutu threw things on is actually Ren Xianjing's son. In the early evening, Tianjin came home and argued with his father. And he also forced Tianjin to study medicine that he didn't like. At this time, Tutu went home and told Xing the strange story. As soon as I heard Tutu tell the story, I felt surprised and confused. Xing also thought that it was just some scammers or a multi-level organization. As for Tutu, it looks like a movie set. Then I thought to myself that it was because of my beauty. The next morning, Ren Xianjing's entire family checked each other's pulses. It is also a ritual to check the health and mourning of everyone in the family and also know everyone's mood at that time. Ren Xianjing then went to the house to look for Tutu. Only then did she wake up. As soon as he met her, Ren Xianjing immediately asked Tutu what time it was, and he still hadn't arrived at the medical center. Presented, but Tutu criticized that having 100 yuan a day to be a main actor like that is not worth it. Ren Xianjing then raised her salary to 4,800 yuan a month. Then write this contract on paper to make sure this badmouthed girl won't raise the price anymore. Seeing that there were many teddy bears in his house, they were all the bears that she used to show off her talent at the toy machine. He said that Tutu was very motivated to study Oriental medicine. As long as she finds the disease, pulls it out and defeats it, she will cure the patient. Before Ren Xianjing left, he immediately showed Tutu tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. to the medical center. At this time, Tianjin was checking the temperature and taking care of an old woman. She immediately smiled and took his hand, and Ren Xianjing went to see Tutu. He immediately took his beloved wife to pick up teddy bears. If you love the right person, no matter your age, you will be a princess. Seeing his beloved wife happily picking up bears, he immediately went to buy a bunch of coins for her to pick up. But after the wife heard that he had quit his job, she became angry. Until he got home, his wife was still scolding him while putting books on the shelf. Tianjin just came home from school and heard about his father quitting his job but only reacted coldly. In the evening, suddenly a man with a sore arm came to his house and asked Ren Xianjing for acupuncture. After hearing that Ren Xianjing had quit his job, he felt this person's sincerity and didn't want to take the rent anymore. This time at the Tutu corrugated iron house, my best friend just came home from work and was surprised by her celebration, happily telling me that she just got a job. After scooping a cake for her best friend Xing Xing to eat, Tutu also intended to introduce her boyfriend to Xing Xing. From the hair, eyes, and nose, it all seems to describe Tianjin. At this time, Ren Xianjing confided to his wife that he was no longer working, so he would open a class to teach traditional medicine. After that, the whole family sat down to eat, including Tianjin, and heard the mother's information again. When Tianjin heard that his beloved father had resigned and opened a class to teach Chinese medicine, grandfather hopes that Tianjin will participate in this teaching class. Because this class will invite many famous Chinese medicine doctors to teach, there will also be a few famous doctors who have returned to their hometown to live in seclusion to come back to teach. Not only do they know what to teach in the books, but they also have classes like stacking medicine, picking medicine, or making firecrackers, which are very, very good opportunities. But Ren Xianjing did not agree. Tianjin then immediately gave his opinion. He hopes that in the future he can face living people, not patients who have been blinded and have some disease. Today Tianjin had to say goodbye to Kang Kunji. Maybe she is about to leave this life. After hearing the young man's steadfast opinion, the whole family agreed to open a class to teach Chinese medicine. The next morning, Tutu arrived at the medical center on time for yesterday's appointment with Ren Xianjing. Ren Xianjing then gave her a book and said that from today Tutu will be a student in the class teaching Ren Xianjing to study Chinese medicine. And whatever Tutu tells you to do, you must do it. But when studying, every time I open a book, Tutu's eyes follow each page. My mind is spinning, so I don't want to study. But I'm a poor kid who can't find enough money to catch rice, so I have to try. As soon as Tutu crossed his legs, he was forced to put down by Ren Xianjing. At this time, Tianjin had just arrived at school and saw his roommate constantly pushing him away angrily. Suddenly, Tianjin thought of a way to invite that friend to his father's classroom. The purpose is just to borrow his hand to make a mess of the class his father created. After that, the other guy also agreed, and his name was Bon Yan. At this time, Tutu was sitting in front of the medical center looking for more students. Suddenly a beautiful girl appeared but seemed tired and scared. The class teacher was recruiting more Chinese medicine students, so she immediately signed up for a slot. Duong Xiaohong is the name of that pretty girl. When Tianjin's classmate learned that his father was opening a class, he immediately asked to join and study there. All three people were happy to receive it. The next day, the three of them hung banners in front of the classroom door. Suddenly, Xiaohong came pulling a suitcase and caught Yan's sight. The sound of love kept echoing in his heart. In class, Ren Xianjing and his wife arranged to carry their notebooks and clean up the room. Tutu also had to pick up towels and bring water to clean, then she blamed her for the low salary. When Ren Xianjing told him that he would get whatever he wanted, no matter what, Tutu foolishly trusted this spiritualist. She immediately clasped her hands and prayed that all the money in the bank would reach her house. Ren Xianjing and his wife immediately burst into laughter at this incredibly stupid and meaningless mistake. Oriental medicine classes are also increasingly crowded with other students enrolling. Everyone focused on getting ready to sit neatly. Only Tutu was still playing Li Kui forever. When Ren Xianjing called, he happily ran out. As soon as I got to my seat, Xing Xing suddenly came. Everyone turned to look. After starting to study, Tutu couldn't sit still. Everyone read the lesson, but Tutu didn't understand anything. Sitting in class, but my soul is in the clouds. During class, she also asked questions, but it made Ren Xianjing's wife laugh. Today is everyone's first lesson. Work is the truth of life. Everyone will have to clean up the garden together to keep the path clean. While everyone worked, Tutu put the bag on his shoulder and walked out, telling himself to sit and rest. Then took her gloves and gave them to the girl standing nearby, clicking on the phone. Even though she said nice words to advise her to do the same with everyone, she refused to clean up and instead arrogantly argued back. Tutu had to deliberately slap her with a stick to make her feel better. Suddenly Tianjin carried the box out and said bad words in Tutu's face. She immediately teased Tianjin. She even planned to hit him. At this time, suddenly the girl behind her was grabbed by a woman's head and hair. Seeing the discontent, Tutu and the nanny immediately ran to stop it, causing it to become too hot. When Ren Xi and Jing came out, they stopped. It turned out that the woman thought Xiao Hong was the one who caused her husband's death. That's Kong. She once again tried to run back and grab Xiao Hong's head to hit her, but was instead splashed with water by Tutu. Then she suddenly stood still. Ren Xianjin felt her pulse and gave her acupuncture. When she felt her pulse, she found out she was pregnant. Everyone slowly took her to rest. At this time, Tutu also suddenly had a heart attack and collapsed. The boy panicked and ran out to check and discovered that Tutu was no longer breathing, but she jumped up again, holding her stomach and laughing. It's true that you know how to give to others. But then Xiao Hong had difficulty breathing. Due to mental shock, she fainted and fell to the ground. But everyone went inside. And Tutu thought she was pretending to act like her. Luckily, everyone in Ren Xianjing ran out to check in time. Xing! Tutu was also very worried. The next day, while Ren Xianjing was busy swatting mosquitoes, suddenly, a group of people came to congratulate him on opening a teaching class. After talking to everyone, Ren Xianjing had to go to class to teach. Today, Tutu looked very sleep-deprived. Before he could read a single word, he lay down on the cart very hard. Ren Xianjing saw this and spoke loudly. Tutu popped the thread and mentioned a sentence about eating rice. Tutu just went to school and still has money, and now she can sleep like that and she's really happy like a king. Ren Xianjing then reminded everyone not to laugh at her and started talking about the human body. Suddenly she raised her hand, thinking she was expressing an opinion, but it turned out she wanted to go to the bathroom. At break time, Tutu couldn't sit still, so he went out to tease Tianjin. While he was diligently studying, Tutu immediately cheered up when he saw the food. After she ate a dish, she guessed where it was sold, surprising everyone. But then Shiryan said something that made her very angry and chased her around the classroom. At this time everyone in the class was eating. Ren Xianjing saw Tutu finish eating first, but she felt it wasn't enough, so he divided the food for her. Then Tutu asked for your opinion about today's dishes, and suggested that he would be the chef for everyone. Shiryan was angry when he saw someone opposing, but then everyone supported Tutu. Seeing that Shiryan was on his side, he elected him Shiryan. They worked together to plan the menu for tonight's dinner. Shiryan, Tianjin, and her went shopping at the supermarket. Suddenly there was a girl who had an occupational accident. She quickly ran to the victim to ask. After helping her escape, Tutu and Shiryan were together in the kitchen preparing food. Tutu was very professional. After the appetizers were served, everyone ate very well. While everyone was eating, Tutu told the story about the girl who fainted at the supermarket today. Ren Xianjing heard about the diseases that Shiryan, Li Quan and his son discovered by checking his pulse. Both Ren Xianjing and his wife immediately changed their expressions to worry. Ren Xianjing also asked for the girl's address to come check again. When she learned the address Tutu gave, Ren Xianjing immediately ran there and heard that she had to cut off one side of the evidence tube. Tianjin was immediately scolded by his father. Tianjin's hand clenched in helplessness. Li Quan was also standing next to him and walked forward. In the evening, everyone went to rest, but Xiao Hong still sat and studied. Tutu was lying next to her and then went out to teach her. Although Tutu was nowhere to be seen in class, Tianjin had already returned to his room to rest. Shiryan was comforting Tianjin when Tutu suddenly appeared, startling everyone. Then when she entered the room, Shiryan told her the story. Tutu also called Ren Xianjing his nephew. Because he saw that the two of them were tense, he came here to ask. Tutu then turned to comfort Tianjin. She even pulled out the menu to show him, but he didn't care. Early the next morning Xiao Hong went looking for the mannequin but couldn't find it. When asked Tutu, she said she didn't know. But suddenly he took off the blanket for her to look at and burst out laughing. After that, Xiao Hong got angry and didn't want to take the dummy anymore. She immediately ran to the classroom and told Shiryan that Tutu stole her things. But clearly she didn't steal. Tutu hugged the dummy and ran to return it but couldn't. Afterwards, Xiao Hong also expressed the idea of wanting to return to housing. As soon as Ren Xianjing walked out, he asked everyone if anyone else wanted to go home and sleep. There are also a few more components that agree with that opinion. After that, Tutu immediately made a speech that made everyone laugh. But not being blamed by Ren Xianjing, but rather commendable. In general, Ren Xianjing does not let anyone go home for the first 3 months to let everyone live together, and we can look at each other's example and learn. During class today, Ren Xianjing suddenly gave you a riddle. Strangely enough, Tutu answered very well. After school, Ren Xianjing returned to his office and saw Shan Dao coming to donate money to the school, but Ren Xianjing refused to accept because he had already resigned. At night, Ling Lan asked him why he didn't accept donations. Ren Xianjing was hit directly by Ling Lan. Luckily, Shi Yan came to the rescue. Then he and Shi Yan went out to fold the treasure with everyone. While in a hurry, Tutu kept asking difficult questions, but she still calmly answered. After that, Tutu lied down laughing again, and the next morning everyone was wearing the same clothes. Tutu lay down for a while, shaking his legs and looking at his phone. Suddenly Shi Yan ran out and complimented her on her long, balanced and healthy legs. He immediately wanted to worship under her pomegranate skirt. Tutu also turned around and asked about her face. Suddenly, Tianjin pointed and walked over and commented that this face really looked like him. Those flying words immediately made Tutu so angry that he stood up and fought with him. Ling Lan punished the two of them for standing for an hour. But Tutu kept running his hands and feet back and forth, his arms and legs could not stay in one place. Today everyone went to visit the grave. Tutu kept running back and forth to get into the car, making everyone stand and watch in bewilderment. At this time, everyone came to a mountain area. This mountain has many paths. When going down the mountain, if everyone got lost, Ren Xianjing marked the way for everyone. In this mountain there are also many bears and wild boars. Hearing this, Tutu's face was very surprised. I still can't believe there are so many wild animals here. Suddenly Ren Xianjing discovered something on the ground. Ling Lan also ran to see. Both of them took it back to use as medicine ingredients. And that was bat droppings. Shi Yan saw this and laughed at the teacher. While the teacher was teaching, Tutu just stood outside picking flowers and catching butterflies. But after a while, I thought it was interesting, so I ran in to listen to it. Her expression showed that she was very studious. After that, everyone continued to go up the mountain to visit the grave. Here is the grave of a very famous man. He has been here for decades, but there are always people coming to worship. Suddenly Ling Lan walked closer to Tutu to straighten her clothes. Tutu reflexively jerked back. Ren Xianjing immediately reminded Tutu to be serious. Then it was said that the future successor of the Quang Acupuncture sect is Tutu. In the future, Quang's Acupuncture sect will be led by her juniors. Just hearing that is enough to feel a great responsibility. But Tutu turned around and told everyone to quit. While everyone was worshipping, Dao went out and sat in a corner, leaving behind a lot of talking about all sorts of things. From childhood until adulthood, Tutu had no relatives. That's why she's never gone to a grave before. Since she was little, Tutu was in an orphanage. She had never seen this ritual, the biggest ritual Tutu had ever participated in. It was the opening day of each little red string doe sitting in front of the door waiting for their parents to come and adopt them. After that, the children who obeyed were led away. Those who did not obey were also led away. Even sick children were adopted, but no one needed Tutu. But she ran out and said that was just that. Tianjin immediately scolded Tutu angrily. Everyone continued the ceremony, then went to a village. There are also a lot of people in here. Seeing Ren Xianjing coming, everyone was happy to be with him. Then Ren Xianjing and Ling Lan sat down to check each person's health. Tutu was next to him diligently taking notes, but looked very sad. At mealtime, he sat alone by the fire. Ren Xianjing saw that she was cowering and immediately ran out to check her pulse. Then the teacher called Ling Lan to take care of the student. Ling Lan took Tutu into the room to fix her socks on her feet. Suddenly Shi Yan outside threatened her that he would drink all of Tutu's chicken soup. She immediately said something that made Ling Lan admire her. Tianjin also slowly brought her red sugar water to drink. The next day everyone studied on the mountain. Only Ren Xianjing's wife returned home to treat a patient waiting at home. And from today everyone's phones will be confiscated. Tutu must also be difficult to understand. A few hours ago, Tutu couldn't bear to be parted from his beloved phone. She was now rummaging around the bed looking for her phone. Suddenly Ren Xianjing walked in. Tutu didn't dare look for the phone anymore. A few days later, everyone studied very hard. But Tutu was the only one who was punished and sent to attack. One day, Tutu just slept forever and didn't bother getting up to study anymore. Ren Xianjing immediately ordered Shi Yan and Li Quan to go in and wake her up. But Tutu was really stubborn and keeps calling without being foolish. She even jumped up and scolded Shi Yan and said she wanted to go down the mountain. In the evening, Tutu pretended to go to bed early, making everyone in the room unbelievable. Until night came, the roommate didn't hear Tutu's snoring sound, so he couldn't sleep. She immediately turned to see how Tutu was doing and discovered that the person sleeping in the bed was missing. At this time, Tutu was wearing a backpack and going down the mountain. As he walked, he kept muttering to himself and looking for the red rope. But every time I go for a while, I return to the same place. Tutu got angry and took a stick to hit the tree. There was a beehive above. A little healing but a lot of keeping, the bees above gradually rushed forward. Luckily, Ren Xian Zheng and Tianjin ran over in time, but Tutu's face was already ruined. Tianjin saw that and immediately burst out laughing, and Dao also thought he was an idiot. Ren Xian Zheng also immediately took her home to apply medicine. Her face was completely swollen at this point. Ren Xian Zheng applied regular cigarettes but it still didn't work, so she had to use urine as well. Tutu was also frightened when he heard that, but he no longer had the strength to struggle anymore. When she brought in the bowl of urine, she suddenly fell asleep again because she was so tired and scared. Everyone around me felt very worried. Today is also everyone's last class. Ren Xian Zheng reminded everyone to get off the mountain early tomorrow morning. The next day, everyone was also present at the medical center. Tutu's face has also returned to its original beauty. At this time, everyone was standing around listening. Tutu enthusiastically raised her hand and said something that made others laugh. Suddenly, a mother and daughter ran to Ren Xian Zheng to ask for treatment for their daughter. Mother and daughter have been waiting for Ren Xian Zheng all week. Ren Xian Zheng immediately sat down to check the pulse of the girl sitting in a wheelchair. After checking his pulse, Ren Xian Zheng suddenly remembered a master he had studied with before. He taught about how to set broken bones and how to restore life. Ren Xian Zheng remembers writing it down in a small notebook. Ling Lan immediately ran into the house to get that notebook. Tutu stood next to him and was also curious to see, but the teacher forced him to stand aside. The remedy used to treat it is to soak house tiles more than 300 years old in children's urine for 21 days. Then crush it and drink it with old yellow wine. After hearing this, Tutu immediately felt panicked. However, a cure has been found, but now if you want to find an old house that is more than 300 years old, it is very difficult to find. But the sad look on his face was because he was thinking about Din Jianxi and her mother. After finishing eating, Tianjin went out to pour water, and Tutu stood next to him and kept praising him for being handsome. If people praise like that, they won't be able to concentrate on their work. While the two were playing together, suddenly a man came. Tutu unfortunately bumped into him and dropped and broke the glasses. Those glasses were very expensive thanks to him recognizing Tianjin as the person who had saved his daughter Su Meng. So Tutu broke the glass and didn't pay any attention to it anymore. Then he sat down and told everyone about his daughter. Now Su Meng is no longer as stable as before. The child was completely devastated. In the past, Su Meng's personality was very gentle and treated people very well. Now there are only two states, resentment and use of force. The father was exhausted, so today he came here to ask Ren Xian Zheng for help. Then Ren Xian Zheng and his wife went to visit Su Meng at home. As soon as I got there, I saw her sitting scared with her hair down. Ling Lan immediately ran out and said a few words that made her hug her. Ling Lan then slowly took Su Meng's pulse. When the examination was completed, it was found that Su Meng had no illness at all. It's just due to lack of parental love that it turned out like that. So the only way is for the whole family to treat together. At this time, Xing Hospital was constantly being scolded by everyone around him. Tutu suddenly appeared to protect her. After that, I opened a lunchbox for my best friend to eat. At this time, Tianjin was at home, giving his parents the idea that he wanted to take responsibility for taking care of Su Meng, but the parents did not agree. Tianjin immediately went into the house angrily. This evening, Ren Xian Zheng had to go to the police station to sponsor Tutu's return. He then told her to pack her things and move into his house, but Tutu refused. The next day Tianjin and his mother went to see Su Meng to take her to pick tea with everyone. But Su Meng was in a very scared mood. Just always standing behind, Tianjin knew that people were already in a state of fear, but Tutu still did not forgive. Then he rushed to chase Su Meng. While everyone was picking tea, Tianjin saw that Su Meng was cold, so he took off his coat for her. Seeing this, Tutu immediately ran out, making Tianjin say that he was also very cold. Do you have any more coats? The words made Li Quan and Tianjin cry. Tutu then turned to pull Su Meng to go with him, but she refused. At this time, Tianjin was being chased by the girl, almost causing Ling Lan to fall into the pot. But luckily, Tutu hugged me back in time. In the evening, Tutu and Ren Xian Zheng and his wife stood in the tea garden watching the Milky Way. Everyone was also sitting inside looking up at the sky. Tianjin told everyone a story. A novel about people on Earth 100 years later. All the boundaries of the Earth turned into time machine, but were stopped by the pseudo-universe. After watching the Milky Way in the tea garden, Tutu also returned to Ling Lan's house today. As soon as he got back to the bedroom, Tutu chose to stay on the two-story bed and fought to sleep in the same direction as him. When Ling Lan said that after 10 p.m., she would divide the room, the girl, Tutu asked another meaningless question, making Tianjin only dare to laugh. This house also has a rule that everyone must leave their phones charging in the living room outside at 10 o'clock, and cannot bring them into the bedroom. After hearing this, my lady Tutu burst into tears, then laughed softly. After that, Ling Lan taught Tutu and Su Meng how to rub their stomachs before going to bed to get a good night's sleep. At this time, after everyone has finished bathing, they must bring their phones to the living room to charge them. But then, Ling Lan took out her phone and brought it back to her room. At night everyone was asleep when suddenly Su Meng jumped up and ran out. She heard the phone ring and felt scared. Su Meng shouted loudly throughout the house, causing everyone to run out in panic. In the end, Tianjin was the one who was able to calm her down, but the whole family except Tutu was still sleeping soundly. The next morning, Tianjin saw Tutu and forced her to change her phone ringtone. After that, Tutu was still acting for Tianjin. Tutu ran to the dining table and saw the food on the table and was about to run out to eat, but Ling Lan immediately stopped him. "Say you have to wait until the adults come out." So she immediately pulled each person to sit at the dining table. Everyone immediately reached out to check each other's pulse, because morning pulse can accurately reflect human health status. This is a mandatory morning exercise for Ren Xian Zheng's family. Well, Tutu will try to start checking everyone's pulse. She just felt that she was hungry. After finishing eating, Tutu and Ren Xian Zheng went to the medical center to work. At this time, Tutu's expression was very attentive and he diligently recorded the patient's signs and symptoms. After taking the old woman to prescribe medicine, Tutu immediately ran back to ask Ren Xian Zheng for leave. "Let's go to Tam Gunak to check it out and want to go there to perform the ceremony." But Tutu had to go to the doctor's body to let him rest. Ling Lan went in to let her husband go out. Outside, Ren Xian Zheng saw the other person cursing, so he said she was dead. Hearing that, Tutu immediately ran inside to see what was going on. When she went out, her expression made the stunned woman more confident and afraid. At this time, both Tutu teacher and student were scared. "When I had to act recently, everyone thought I was really a clown." Still in a scared position outside, she also thought that she would have to go to prison and entrust her daughter to Ren Xian Zheng. Then they thought about selling their house and kidney to compensate their family. The more Ren Xian Zheng spoke, the more scared she became. Tutu wanted to laugh so much but still had to hold back. She even knelt down in front of the teacher and student, making them extremely embarrassed and confused. Seeing that she was in the most hopeless state of love, the two teachers and students told her the truth. From there, she also learned the lesson to be tolerant of others and find her own nature. Just now, if Li Quan hadn't stopped the car, her daughter's wheelchair would have fallen over. Tolerance for others is also tolerance for yourself. The important thing is to let go. At this moment, both teachers and students breathed a sigh of relief. Shi Yan went out to eat and drink with Xiao Hong. Normally she only eats vegetarian, sitting at Xiao Hong grilled restaurant and even covered herself with a plastic bag to avoid the smell. At this time, Tutu was sitting in the kitchen giving medicine to the body. Suddenly she saw Tianjin going out and curiously ran after him. "When I got there, I saw him playing board game." After that, Tutu wanted to play with him, but remembered that she had to give medicine to Su Meng at the morgue. 2 days later during a Chinese medicine class, suddenly a woman passed the classroom. Standing outside listening to Ren Xian Zheng's lectures on emotions, she felt extremely peaceful in her heart, and the knot in her heart was immediately removed, and she herself felt like she was cured. In the evening, Tutu and Tianjin sat together by the lake drinking beer and wine. At this time, Shi Yan and Xiao Hong were having a barbecue. Today it seems she is no longer afraid of the smell of kitchen smoke like last time. When Ling Lan called Tutu, the patrolman discovered that the phone on the ground was ringing. That uncle immediately answered the phone and went to look for the owner but only found a few cans of beer. "After walking a short distance, I saw clothes and shoes on the shore." The security guard immediately told the family the address to come. Then Ren Xian Zheng and his wife came here with Tianjin. Tianjin immediately jumped into the lake to search for Tutu. Ren Xian Zheng's wife went around and discovered a pile of beer cans and wine cups. So she discovered her son had been drinking with Tutu. At this time, Tianjin jumped into the lake and also found Tutu. When she got home, she immediately went into her room to question Tianjin, but at first he did not admit his guilt, until she revealed Tianjin's purpose for doing so. "Just because I don't want Tutu to live in this house." Ling Lan immediately warned his son not to cause any more trouble to Tutu. The next morning, the whole family was having breakfast when Tutu woke up. As soon as she got down to the dining table, Ling Lan immediately checked her pulse and showed her the head to suck the porridge. Then Ren Xian Zheng asked her who she drank with yesterday, but she just said she drank alone. By the time Tutu checked his own pulse but didn't feel it anymore, he felt panicked. The expression made the couple have to search everywhere to get married. After eating breakfast, Ren Xian Zheng immediately went inside and punched Ling Lan for covering up for her son. She could only silently nod her head. The next day, the Chinese medicine class group went to the house of a successful businessman who specializes in manufacturing Oriental medicine and heavily sponsors the Chinese Medicine Foundation for many students. Therefore, this time the discussion of the Chinese medicine class group will be held here. Most importantly, there is a very large herbaceous garden behind. This is the best season to pick wormwood. The owner of this house's name is Zheng Yu. When Zheng Yu learned that Tutu was the heir of Quangshi, he immediately shook hands to greet Tutu. He invited Tutu for a few drinks. She is also not afraid to refuse. At this time, everyone was having a feast together. Zheng Yu still did not forget to invite Tutu. The next day, everyone went to the garden to pick wormwood together. She meets Shi Yan and Xiao Hong who are also here. Tutu is really talkative. constantly talking to Ren Xian Zheng. Everyone enjoyed tea and ate chestnuts together. Children suffering from wind and cold is a topic that Chinese medicine has been studying for hundreds of thousands of years. Afterwards, Shi Yan volunteered, but Ren Xian Zheng did not let him. Ren Xian Zheng decided to let Tutu take charge. Later, when Tutu came to take care of the child, she immediately went to the kitchen to show off her cooking skills to supplement the baby's fever with food. She also made black charcoal oil, which the true master said very precious, because it has no stimulants and nothing added. When Tutu talked to his mother, the baby was like a magician. But thanks to Tutu, she was able to cure the baby's illness. After that, she went out to drink tea with everyone. Everyone heard that the baby's fever had subsided and was better than before. Everyone felt happy, but only Li Quan had a sad look on his face. From the time at the medical center until now, everyone has now finished their trip to visit the home of a successful businessman. Before returning, Tutu was also given wormwood for 5 years. And the next day, Su Meng was much better than before. She even took pictures together and talked with Jian Qi. And the girl who hid her daughter has now reconciled. In the evening, Tutu was in the kitchen, looking like he was enjoying life. But suddenly Ling Lan asked Tutu if he had finished writing The Great Medicine Star yet, because tomorrow Ren Xian Zheng will check his homework. After listening, Tutu asked Ling Lan for help but failed. At this time, Ren Xian Zheng was eating with his seniors at a luxury restaurant, but he was the only one raising his glass with a cup of tea and his expression didn't seem very happy. Right now, Tutu is studying and taking medicine at the same time. Luckily, Tianjin came out to help her study. But Tutu just stood there making fun of him until Ren Xian Zheng returned. Tianjin immediately hid downstairs but was still discovered by him, but he just didn't bother to catch him red-handed. The next morning when Tutu submitted her paper, he forced her to sit here and continue writing, but then Tutu protested harshly. Ren Xian Zheng didn't bother to say anything anymore, and even said that she would give her a reward. And didn't make any mistakes again, but didn't tell her. Tutu waited all day and still didn't see the reward. In the afternoon, she saw Ren Xian Zheng drinking and went out to sit with her. Later, Ren Xian Zheng also taught Tutu how to drink wine. Tianjin came down from the stairs and sat back to watch his father and Tutu drink and eat together. Eating moderately is Ren Xian Zheng's reward for Tutu. Inside, she sat like a few grandmasters, drinking until late at night, and Ren Xian Zheng was already drunk. The next day, Ling Lan asked everyone where Li Quan was and found out he had gone to work part-time. Everyone suddenly discovered that Li Quan's belongings and clothes were left here. Because he didn't have a house or money to rent, Tianjin let Li Quan stay here and hid Ren Xian Zheng. When he heard that, he was very angry. No matter what Tianjin said, Tutu then said a few words that made him agree. At this time, Tianjin and Tutu went to Li Quan's part-time job to drag him back. Tianjin also just wanted to help Li Quan but kept scolding him in the face. Tutu, standing next to him, felt dissatisfied and spoke up, causing the two to make up again. At night, Xing Xing was being followed by a stranger. Fortunately, Li Quan appeared just in time. Actually, today Tutu let Li Quan come here to stay with Xing Xing, but he is a boy. Xing Xing finds it difficult to accept. After that, Tutu only needed a few words of persuasion for Xing Xing to agree. The next day, suddenly a man came to the classroom looking for Ren Xian Zheng, but he looked very bossy. Until he met Ren Xian Zheng, he had to bow his head and ask. Today's Chinese medicine class has a lesson on healthy living. Ren Xian Zheng invited Ms. Dong Hu from here to teach everyone. When she entered, everyone applauded. Today's lesson can be described with 2 words, fairy activity. It uses the truth to tell people that the method can not only cure illnesses but also cure serious illnesses. In today's class, Tutu did not fall asleep anymore but listened very attentively. Learning in theory was fine, but when preparing for practice, suddenly the measuring team came here. It was because Lu Changqing sent someone here to repair this place. Ren Xian Zheng then went out to call Lu Changqing. In the past, he lent this place to Ren Xian Zheng to hold classes, but now he rents it out. After hearing the announcement from Lu Changqing, Ren Xian Zheng immediately went in to inform everyone. The whole class also invited each other to go out. Everyone was excited to go out, but only Xiao Hong was still diligently working. At this time, everyone was playing at the Lost Lantern Festival. Everyone was wearing hanfu. In the evening, Ren Xian Zheng sat down to discuss class with his family. The situation seems very stressful and tiring. At the festival, everyone was tired of playing and it was time for dinner. After eating and drinking, everyone went home and hugged each other to go to the bathroom. Surely this trip has brought a lot of healing. Tutu then called Ling Lan and Ren Xian Zheng to save the class. At this moment, everyone sat holding their stomachs. While being chased by the thugs, Tutu still talked a lot about his uncle coming here today. Eating more may make you worse. And reminded Ren Xian Zheng to call and ask about that person. When it came time to take the medicine, she said it was bitter. Everyone took Chinese medicine, but only Shi Yan brought antibiotics to take. Then each person came closer to get antibiotics to take. When she invited Tutu, she got angry and cursed. Because they thought of Ren Xian Zheng and Ling Lan's concern, they took everyone's pulse. If you take Tutu antibiotics, you feel very nauseous. Then Tutu stood up and took a sip of that valuable cup of medicine for everyone to learn from. The next day, only Tutu sat down to eat noodles. Shi Yan and the people around her laughed at her. When Ren Xian Zheng arrived, everyone stood in line to listen to Ren Xian Zheng's scolding. When the teacher said that he would no longer teach classes, everyone was scared and worried. Tutu then stood up and admitted all the blame on himself to take responsibility. Shi Yan and everyone also stood up to admit their mistakes. In the end, Tutu was still the one who stood up to admit all his mistakes. Ren Xian Zheng immediately opened her mouth and told her to put away the things. From now on, Tutu will no longer be a student in the Chinese medicine class. After Tutu packed his things and drove home, everyone stood there looking at her sadly. At this time, Ren Xian Zheng sat sadly. His wife immediately came out to comfort and share with her husband. Through today's incident, Ling Lan actually has a different view of Tutu. Today she took the initiative to admit her mistake. Ling Lan observed carefully like everyone else. Actually, everyone had a look of guilt on their faces, so this really doesn't mean Tutu was an oligarch. Ren Xian Zheng also felt embarrassed in his heart at this time, but still refused to call Tutu back. The next day, Ren Xian Zheng organized a party to invite Lu Changqing and other members. Suddenly, Tutu was the delivery person here. The two of them didn't dare look at each other. At night, Ren Xian Zheng still came back and scolded his son for not being as good as Tutu. However, Tianjin did not feel sad and instead smiled while texting and talking to Tutu. Now she is returning to her job delivering goods to her place of residence, still diligently picking up her pen and studying. My colleague's uncle, who was also nearby, was surprised. Suddenly his uncle had back pain. Tutu ran to help, but it only made him worse. The next morning, she immediately went to the medical center to see Ren Xian Zheng, to ask Ren Xian Zheng to help examine her roommate's back. But Ren Xian Zheng was still angry with Tutu. Later, her companion cured him for him. Tutu saw that he was no longer in pain and had completely recovered. Tutu immediately asked her to teach him how to treat it like that, because many of Tutu's colleagues have back problems. However, the medium cannot teach Tutu now, because Tutu is no longer a student in the successor class. Furthermore, Tutu has dropped out of school in a lot of headlines. After hearing that, her expression was very sad. The psychic immediately asked if she wanted to study too. If not, Tutu said she wanted to study, but maybe Ren Xian Zheng won't accept her anymore. Hearing that, my colleague immediately went out and said a few more words to Ren Xian Zheng, but the teacher just smiled and said nothing. In the evening, Tutu came home to massage his colleague. The next day, Tutu went to deliver goods and someone falsely accused her of taking her wedding ring. Tutu had to kneel down to ask people. People around held their phones and liked it on social networks. So it reached the ears of everyone in the medical center and even Ren Xian Zheng. Right now Tutu was having to listen to people scolding. Ren Xian Zheng also believed that Tutu would not do that. Feeling very dissatisfied in his heart, Tianjin immediately ran to the hotel to take Tutu back. When Tianjin ran to the place to take Tutu away, everyone had already dispersed. The police officers stayed behind and asked the woman to go inside and search again. Then she ran back into the house to look for it and found the wedding ring. The police officer also quickly met Tutu and said everything had been resolved. At this point, she no longer wanted to say anything and left. Tianjin also really wanted her to go back to study Chinese medicine and come to his home. In the evening, grandmother asked Tianjin to get some books for her. Then Ren Xian Zheng also went out to ask his son how Tutu was doing. Grandma stood there listening to the story and also felt uneasy. When she left a daughter with a group of young men, she immediately told Tianjin to call Tutu to stay here. But he only waited for a sentence from Ren Xian Zheng before smiling and praying. At this time, Tutu tooth massaged his colleague's back. Suddenly she received a phone call from Tianjin. At first, she heard that she was allowed to return to study. Don't know what to say. After that, Tutu was so happy, she hadn't smiled for several days. The next morning, Tutu wholeheartedly went to see Ren Xian Zheng and gave the teacher his homework. As soon as he saw the student return, the teacher's heart blossomed, but he still had to put on a stern face to appear less childish than idle. But in the end, Ren Xian Zheng couldn't help but accept Tutu's return. Li Quan and Tianjin were waiting outside. Seeing Tutu come out with a very sad face, everyone thought she wasn't allowed to come here to study. Su Meng also felt scared and ran away. Tutu ran after him and said that he had been returned. Only then will Su Meng feel secure and return to normal. Tianjin and Li Quan also breathed a sigh of relief. The next day, the whole class enjoyed the lesson outdoors. In the classroom when Tutu is present, the atmosphere seems to be very bustling and more soulful. Today, in class with the participation of Mr. Ku, he will lecture about pharmacology to everyone. And along with that, there is also a competition to climb the stream, pick medicine and practice leg strength. When you return, whoever picked the most herbs will have the right to choose the dish. The assigned task is not over yet. Not only do people pick edible herbs, but they also have to recite an ancient verse that includes that herb. After that, everyone went up the mountain together to pick herbs. Tutu picked all the grass and threw it in the basket, then ran out and brazenly exchanged it for liquan. When picking herbs, people must process them into dishes. At this time, each person is standing up to read their poems about herbs. Only Tutu wrote on his hand to read, making everyone around him laugh. In the evening, Su Meng brought bouquets of flowers to give to the teachers. After Ren Xian Zheng received the bouquet of flowers, he immediately went out to meet Tutu and wanted to receive her wishes. But Tutu insisted on not saying congratulations to the teacher, making him feel very sad. Then suddenly today Ren Xian Zheng went out and called his wife to ask about his parents. Making Ling Lan very surprised, he went to the table and sat down. Finally, I saw Tutu offer her greetings, but with a withered branch. At night, Tutu committed another crime of stealing other people's chickens to grill and eat, but was caught red-handed. After that, Tutu was scolded by Ren Xian Zheng again. Everyone was very amused but didn't dare laugh out loud. It seems that this time Tutu feels extremely in love. It was also because of Tianjin that he gave her the trouble that night. The next day everyone continued studying. Tutu worked hard cleaning and feeding the chickens, but suddenly she ran away. I thought my family lost a chicken yesterday and came to blame me, but unexpectedly they gave me 2 more chickens. At this time, Tutu was playing with 2 chickens when Ren Xian Zheng took out a piggy bank and gave it to her. Good and bad things are divided and conquered. There is a limit to doing bad things, but doing good things will definitely reward you. If Tutu makes progress in the future and does a great good deed, Ren Xian Zheng will put a coin in this piggy bank. Wait until the withering is full, then Tutu will appear. Hearing that, she immediately felt happy and had more motivation to study. The 2 chickens have now been put on the stove. Everyone ate deliciously as if thanks to Tutu's efforts. In the evening, everyone enjoyed floating cakes and lots of food. Tomorrow everyone will go home, and everyone will go home for the holidays. But only Tutu didn't know what to do. Up until now, she has had to work on holidays. After that, Ren Xian Zheng immediately told Tutu to go home and play. Her mouth couldn't say anything, but inside she felt very happy. On Mid-Autumn Festival, Tianjin still hurriedly said that he would run to school. Ren Xian Zheng then asked his son to take Tutu with him. Tutu was busy watching a good movie and didn't want to go, but he still forced her to go to learn. After that, Tutu had to slowly walk back to the dressing room, but his eyes were always looking towards watching TV. When he went out with Tianjin, he immediately took money for Tutu to go out on his own. And you go do other secret things. But she still wants to go with Tianjin. The first secret is that he goes out dancing, but Tutu was too scared to dance with him, so he had to dance alone. The second secret is racing. This game Tutu can play. Then the 2 stood together talking next to the lotus pond, and Tianjin immediately told her what he wanted to do. Tianjin then took Tutu with him to the antique shop that sold the bracelet. Tutu did not expect the price of the bracelet to be so high. In the evening, Tianjin told his family that the bracelet was lost and the whole family felt panicked. Grandma even got up and went out to call the library to ask for it. Tutu also sat still for a moment, not daring to say anything. Suddenly, Tutu heard her grandfather say it was only a few 100,000, which made her even more surprised. Tianjin was also stunned because he only sold 100,000 today. The next morning Tutu returned to the antique shop. Who would have thought to meet Ling Lan here? It turned out that she also knew about her son bringing the bracelet here to sell. When the owner here opened the door and asked, he said it had been sold to someone else. Because he sold it to a stranger, he didn't know who it was. When Lin Lam looked at the orange had been broken for a long time and was just for display. Well, I'm helpless and don't know what to do. Then she turned to look at Tutu with angry eyes, causing Tutu to look back and forth in fear. When Lin Lam returned home, she could only stand silently thinking in worry and fear. When he told Ren Xian Zheng that he really lost that card bracelet, he immediately ran to his son's room angrily. Tianjin was also scared and didn't dare look his father in the eye. That card was very important to Tianjin, but now he saw that his son had lost it. Fortunately, 2 grandparents came to relieve the situation, but Tianjin stood up and talked back to his father. Because Tianjin is 25 years old this year, but Dad said he was 28. Suddenly, Tutu stood outside and knocked on the door to attract everyone's attention. She said that she was the one who took that card and brought it to the pawn shop to sell it because she recently needed money. After that, Tutu was forced to stand outside by Ren Xian Zheng, and the mother below felt very affectionate. She then gave the walking stick to Tianjin and brought it to Tutu. But when she brought it out, she didn't need a stick to support her, so Tianjin chose to stand with her, while Ling Lan stayed inside to harass her husband. In fact, he already knew that his wife knew where his son's card was. At this moment, Tutu couldn't stand anymore and she immediately collapsed to the ground. Everyone immediately panicked and put their heads on the bed to lie down. After that, Ren Xian Zheng and his wife sat and took care of her. After a while, the 2 of them went out to let Tianjin sit. Because Tutu admired him, he took the blame for him. Suddenly at this time Tianjin got a phone call, saying that Su Meng was missing. Ren Xian Zheng and Tianjin immediately ran to her house. When he arrived at Su Meng's house, he found out that he had quarreled with his mother, so he left. Tianjin then angrily scolded the 2 of them and then searched everywhere for Su Meng. He ran to find all the places he needed to find. At this time, Tutu was also running to look for him and immediately called Tianjin. She immediately suggested a sentence that made him clear his mind and discover Su Meng's hiding place. In the evening, Tianjin ran home and signaled everyone to be quiet, then slowly ran to the door and called Su Meng inside. Everyone did not expect Su Meng to hide inside. At this time, Ling Lan's face was very tense when opening a family meeting, then tell Tutu to lead Su Meng into the room and not go out. Suddenly she slapped the chair so hard that it startled Tutu. During the meeting she suggested that she would take Su Meng home tomorrow. It's impossible to have that many daughters now. Then Tianjin got angry and wanted to take Su Meng out to live with him. If mom chases her away, Tianjin will go with her. At this time, Tutu was in the room with Su Meng. Every time Tutu tried to touch something, she snatched it back out of fear. Then Tutu went out and sat in a corner to make her laugh. Finally succeeded. The next morning, Tutu was watering plants in the medical center garden. Ren Xianzheng and Xiao Hong coming, but it seemed that Xiao Hong really didn't like Tutu. So now Ren Xianzheng is sitting back and talking to Xiao Hong. Back to Tutu's problem. The day Xiao Hong fell into the stream, only Tutu proactively came to help. Other classmates did not dare to touch Xiao Hong, but she simply thought that someone like Tutu who never went to school had no professional skills. Only then will Tutu build relationships to gain a foothold in society. Xiao Hong and Ren Xianzheng then confided for a long time. Finally, the teacher gave her a piggy bank. At this time, Tutu was standing in the kitchen with Tianjin. Suddenly she wondered to Tianjin if he already liked Su Meng. At this moment, Tutu looked like an old lady. She also wonders if Tianjin doesn't love his mother. Tutu also said that if he had a mother, he wouldn't make her sad because of someone else. Tutu then threatened Tianjin but only made him laugh. The next day, the class went to see the father and son who loved sprouts in the mountains first and then went to the doctor. Everyone travels such long distances, the young people get motion sickness, while the elderly need to be healthy the older they get. However, Tutu only sits in the car listening to music, dancing. After a few hours of watching, they finally arrived. The mountains here are so beautiful. As soon as they arrived, everyone enjoyed a specialty meal here, which is chicken soup. But the special thing is that this dish is stewed for more than 4 hours or more and the heat is absolutely not turned off. After all, there is a father and son inside. In the father and son there is agony, a type of poison, and that toxicity must be eliminated to have the effect of the father and child. The next day everyone went to the resort. When people at the reception rented a room, the receptionist's service attitude was very indifferent, just sitting there holding the phone, not paying attention to customers. When Xiao Hong went to the room, he saw that it was not clean and tidy. She wanted to call the receptionist to explain, but no one listened. Xiao Hong immediately angrily brought the towel down to the front desk and wanted to change it, but she didn't change it. This scarf has already been used, but the receptionist here is still looking at the phone and answering superficially. The washing machine here was broken so I had to wash it by hand too. Xiao Hong was even angrier. Tutu saw Xiao Hong arguing with the receptionist here. She immediately ran out to relieve everyone. Xiao Hong then went out to meet Ren Xianjing to reprimand the receptionist here, but Ren Xianjing only knows how to advise Xiao Hong to calm down. There are also many people who are working hard and seriously making a living, and the kind Tutu went out and asked to wash Ren Xianjing's clothes and exchange a new towel for Xiao Hong. After that, Tutu also went out to teach the receptionist here to press the washing machine. So now she is also the one who instructs the two receptionists here to clean the shiny glass windows. Ren Xianzheng and Xiao Hong came out and saw this and said a few words to her. Xiao Hong also felt more relieved and went out to help them clean the glasses, then enthusiastically teach them how to self-massage their neck and shoulder joints. Sometimes, if we just use a peaceful attitude and accept things properly, life seems to be easier. A few days later, the class returned to the medical center and suddenly discovered that the tomato plants were growing very well. Ling Lan then planted this tree and took care of it. It turns out that a long time ago, Tutu ate a half-eaten tomato and threw it on the ground. He didn't expect it to grow so well. Today, Ren Xianjing also received a new student. This guy also seems very weak. His mind is on par with Tutu. This guy named Lu Zihong just met Tutu and had to remind her not to be naughty. Afterwards, Ren Xianjing also assigned Tutu the task of looking after and educating Zihong. Afterwards, when father and son argued, Tutu resolved it in one fell swoop. Right now it's raining outside. Suddenly Xiao Hong passed by, a woman who was having a stomach ache while giving birth. Xiao Hong ran back to help but she refused to accept. Because before, she always thought that Xiao Hong was the one who harmed and caused her husband's behavior. It's extremely difficult to see that this place is still in the mountains of Tom Lang Veen, so calling an ambulance would take a long time. At this time she is probably about to give birth. At Quanshi Medical Center, everyone is worried about Jianxi, because she hasn't eaten anything lately. After that, Ren Xianjing thought that Jianxi had a problem, and could only stay and talk to her privately. As for Ren Xianjing's phone, it was in one place so Xiao Hong didn't know when to call. At this time, Xiao Hong and the woman in labor were very panicked. Xiao Hong barely remembered what Ren Xianjing said. Then tell her that she is the devil and free herself so that the other person can continue to persevere. Due to waiting for the emergency room for too long, Xiao Hong delivered the baby herself in the pouring rain. After the rain, the sky was bright again and luckily the baby also cried out into the world. Xiao Hong also successfully delivered her baby. Both of them were healthy mothers, and the ambulance team had just arrived at the medical center. Ren Xian Jing also solved the clown's problem. In the evening, Ren Xian Jing and his wife shared their thoughts together. The next morning, Ling Lan went downstairs and saw her husband cleaning the house, causing her to happily fall down the stairs. But his mouth was still smiling, making Ren Xian Jing feel very confused. At this time, Tutu was also cleaning the house to prepare for Tet. Suddenly when she saw a notebook belonging to Ren Xian Jing, Tutu immediately changed her expression and sat seriously on the chair. When Ren Xian Jing came in, he angrily scolded the teacher for lying about the medicine. Then Ren Xian Jing sat back and told her why he did what he did. After Tutu sat and talked with Ren Xian Jing, she finally understood the difficult problem. At this time, Tianjin and Tutu went to the market together. Tianjin has to bring things out to the trunk of the car to have enough. He just needs to slide his foot under the car and the trunk will automatically open. In the trunk of the car there were many Tet gifts. At this time, Li Quan had also returned to his hometown after many days away. When he got home, he saw his father's leg hurt, so he sat down and massaged his leg. When he gave lucky money to his parents, he criticized it a little. After that, he wanted to take his son to the village chief's house for a blind date. In the evening, Tutu and Ren Xian Jing's family sat down to make cakes. This is also the first time Tutu has celebrated Tet with his family, making the taste of the new year even stronger for Ren Xian Jing's family. Tutu was sitting outside blowing up balloons and popping the balloon, making Ling Lan in the kitchen startled. As many balloons as you can blow, you will explode them, and then sit and laugh happily. At this time, Li Quan is at home celebrating Tet, but he always thinks of Xing Xing in his heart. Now he just stands and watches the fireworks alone on New Year's Eve. The next morning, Tutu had to wear a red shirt with 2 flowers on her shoulders, so she felt like she wasn't happy at all. After receiving the lucky money, she happily knelt down and sent her wishes to them. Normally, Tutu often calls Tianjin his nephew, so today he also had to run after him and ask for lucky money. As soon as Tutu comes home from going out, everyone he meets asks for lucky money, but then suddenly there were several elders in the kitchen. Everyone bowed to her to express the gratitude of everyone's overseas disciples. Tutu felt very bewildered and confused. In her mind she only wanted to receive lucky money. A few days later, at the Chinese Medicine Medical Center, many people came to see the doctor and ask for medicine. Tutu had to continue from morning to noon without eating. While Tutu was reading the names and handing out the numbers, all the people crowded together. No one was willing to let anyone else down. At this time, a woman said that she had been feeling awake lately and wanted to invite Ren Xian Jing to take a look. Then Tutu said there was no need to search. He said she had bad karma. Ren Xian Jing stood next to her to get water. He reminded Tutu of talking nonsense, but that's also true. Suddenly, a man ran to take the number and jostled everyone. Everyone cannot maintain order and dignity. Tutu was so angry that he shouted so loudly that everyone was scared and silently retreated back to form a line. Then Tutu taught each person a lesson. Everyone had to smile inside. Ling Lan was about to leave when her husband pulled her back. Everyone was told by Tutu to stop being quiet and didn't dare to say anything. Ling Lan calls this the sad sword ghost. Everyone is now sleeping peacefully. At this time, Li Quan ran to inform Tutu that Xing Xing had a fever. When she heard that her best friend was like that, she drove to find Xing Xing. As soon as Tutu arrived here, he immediately checked his pulse and went to get warm water for Xing Xing to drink. Xing Xing also told Tutu about Li Quan when the two of them talked and ate together. Xing Xing came home late from work. Li Quan even went to the alley to wait. Actually, Xing Xing feels very warm, but every time Xing Xing has that thought, it brings it back. Xing Xing couldn't choose him because of Li Quan's family conditions. If 2 people get married, Xing Xing will have to carry the burden for the rest of his life. But then Tutu immediately advised and comforted himself. The most important thing is still whether Xing Xing likes him in his heart. In the evening, Shi Yan and Tu Han went on a blind date together at a pub. However, Shi Yan's eyes always focused on Tu Han's side of the table. In the end, both of them rejected their blind date. The next day, the whole class went up the mountain together, studying with Teacher Ku and searching for herbs. When Master Ku cut a piece of mushroom, Tutu immediately showed everyone that it was a piece of dung. At this time, Tutu was tying a rope to the tree trunk, but it was not long enough. Everyone has gone forward. After tying Tutu, he ran after everyone. After walking for a while, everyone saw a wild ginseng bush. Tutu tried to rush forward, but everyone stopped him. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After that, Master Ku slowly went down there and was about to dig up the ginseng plant when a storm suddenly blew up and almost stopped everyone flying. So everyone was planning to return, but Tutu still wanted to stay and dig ginseng. But this is really difficult because this ginseng bush probably has a guardian spirit. It's starting to get windy, which is telling people not to dig up that ginseng bush. Tutu seemed sorry for the mountain, so he stayed behind to tie A. rope to market, then everyone returned to the house on the mountain. Suddenly, Lu Changqing ran out to inform Ren Xianjing that the Chinese medicine garden could not be kept. Now is the time of survival, everyone feels very worried. Lu Changqing even slapped himself in the face, because he had been cheated out of all his money. Now he asked for help and said he would hire someone to dig up ginseng to sell to pay off his debt. There really is nothing more to say to this old man. In the evening, Tutu was sitting there thinking absent-mindedly when Lu Changqing came out to talk about ginseng bushes. At this time, Tianjin was also standing here and immediately agreed to dig ginseng for him, but with the condition that Lu Changqing must ensure that he will keep the Chinese medicine garden. He did not dare to guarantee that, but still guaranteed that wild ginseng could make up for Ren Xianjing's capital loss. Afterwards, Tianjin immediately agreed to go and collect that ginseng bush. Tutu saw that and immediately scolded him angrily. But Tutu decided that he would go with Tianjin. At this time, all three people went to the ginseng bush to dig and dug up the ginseng root, but Tianjin was unfortunately bitten by a poisonous snake. Tutu immediately gave first aid to Tianjin, used a string to prevent the poisonous blood from moving to another place and used chewed grass to cover the snake bite for him. As for Lu Changqing, he was also in trouble and didn't know what to do. Afterwards, Tianjin also fainted and everyone came to take him home. Parents and Li Quan spent the night taking care of Tianjin. Tutu was still very scared. Tianjin's face was now pale. The lips are no longer red at all. The next morning Ren Xianjing came out to announce to everyone, Tianjin is out of danger. Tutu was about to go in to visit, but Ling Lan got angry and didn't let her in, because she just thought that Tutu was unlucky. Tianjin went into the forest to dig up ginseng and said it was Lu Changqing, but she became even angrier and chased Tutu away, not allowing her to speak up. Now he also took the ginseng and ran down the mountain and ran away, then she chased Tutu away. At this time, Tianjin also woke up. Tianjin knew that his mother had chased Tutu away and told her everything. Then she immediately gave the phone to Tianjin to call Tutu to come back. At this moment she was hearing someone's cry for help. Tutu immediately ran out to save the baby lying unconscious on the ground. Everyone on the mountain is worried about looking for Tutu because they cannot contact her. At this time, she was in the hospital and was given a bamboo stick. Then she took out her phone and called Tianjin again. When he heard the news, he immediately ran to the hospital with Ren Xianjing. After that, everyone resolved everything, but after returning to school, they saw that all the tables and chairs were being confiscated. The name Lu Changqing still had a thick skin and came out to talk to everyone. In a little while, Tutu will fight. All the students were very sad right now, carrying their luggage home. Suddenly Ren Xianjing was sitting and discussing with his family that he wanted to sell the house. Both parents and wife were very frightened. However, only then can the inherited class function normally. Ling Lan's father immediately agreed, but Ling Lan did not want to sell. After that, his grandfather told him to sell his house, and Ling Lan was also helpless. I don't understand why the men in my family can be so arbitrary. Then my grandmother also went into the house and took out the red book. Ling Lan immediately burst into tears and was moved. In the evening, Ling Lan went to get her family's red book and brought it back to her parents, because she also doesn't want to sell this house. The next day Su Meng was at the medical center. Chinese medicine kept standing holding a mop on his body. Tutu, the clown sitting there immediately burst out laughing. Suddenly at this time Zihong came to call Tutu, making Tianjin pay attention. He then took Tutu into the room. Tutu screamed and ran to chase and fight Zihong. Tianjin was about to stop him when Tutu opened the box to show him. Seeing that ginseng was here, he immediately gave Zihong a lesson. Tianjin and Tutu dragged Zihong inside to deal with it. Then he said that it was given to him by his father, and because he wanted to repay Tutu, Zihong brought it. This ginseng root can save many people and the entire inheritance class. But now it's too late. Zihong was scolded by Tutu. Then she went out and sat with Ren Xianjing to take notes for a patient. Tutu sat and took notes very diligently. Then she stood alone to introduce medicine to the patient. At this time, Xiaohong suddenly ran to tell everyone the good news that someone had lent a place to open a class. Ren Xianjing and Xiaohong went there to see. The space was indeed very spacious and airy. Then Ren Xianjing immediately told her to go back and smash that piggy bank. Then Ren Xianjing now felt very happy to be reopening the legacy class. The next day, a patient went to the Chinese medicine clinic for a follow-up examination and was no longer coughing up blood, because Shi Yan had stayed and slept the night before in her mountain. But the next day, the Chinese medicine medical center suddenly received notice that Molly had a fever. Then Ren Xianjing and everyone quickly went to her house. When Ren Xianjing arrived, he only needed to feel his pulse and apply an acupuncture needle to completely heal. And Tutu was in the kitchen cooking porridge for her to eat. Tutu then prepared tea for Ren Xianjing to drink. Molly knew that Ren Xianjing's class was having difficulty, so she sent him a large amount of money to donate for the new class. But Ren Xianjing did not dare to accept this generosity because the amount of money was too large. Hearing that, she immediately said that she had 7 pieces of land, so Ren Xianjing dared to accept this generosity. When she returned to the medical center and showed off to Ling Lan that she had money to open classes and didn't have to sell her house anymore, she didn't believe it, until she saw her husband show her the ballot and immediately felt happy. At noon, everyone went to the new classroom together to clean up and set up the classroom. And right after the class, many more people came to register and congratulate Ren Xianjing. At this time, everyone from young to old, from former students to Ren Xianjing patients, had recovered. Everyone was present at the opening ceremony of the legacy class. Only Li Quan had to work part-time and couldn't attend the opening ceremony. At this time, everyone sat and read the voice commands. Xing Xing called Li Quan so he could sit and listen. After finishing the opening ceremony, Tianjin stood alone and hung the letter on the wall of Ren Xianjing's room, but he went in and scolded him not to let the poster hang up because the writing on it didn't really suit his style. In the evening, the whole family ate hot pot together to celebrate. Everyone was very happy. However, only Su Meng cannot drink alcohol. Suddenly, there was a loud noise outside and Tianjin ran to open the door, and it turned out that Su Meng's parents. Then Tianjin sat down at the dining table with a very sad expression. Every time Tianjin skips a meal, he feels uncomfortable and goes to the gym. Grandfather will be the one to bring food to his beloved grandson. The next day, Ren Xianjing gave the whole class a massage and joint massage class. Tu was the person who practiced on Ren Xianjing. When she saw Lu Changqing talking to him, Tu seemed to have overheard something but he didn't tell her. Tu then went to tell the story to Tianjin. The next day, everyone was at the Chinese Medicine Medical Center. Tianjin kept secretly texting Su Meng while everyone was talking about the tiled roof of the 300-year-old house. The only thing missing was pupil urine, so a few people went looking for it. Tu immediately went to meet Ren Xianjing to talk. Then show the 300-year-old tile to Ren Xianjing, including the certificates. Tu asked Ren Xianjing what to do now. Then he asked her again about the story of the tile of the 300-year-old house mixed with urine. It's just a fake remedy that Ren Xianjing painted up. Now Tu is the one who has to handle this matter. Everyone has also gone to get the pupil's urine back. Tu and Shiryen kept fighting. Eventually Tu kicked everyone out, leaving only Shiryen. Tu immediately told him the truth, and Tianjin could only stand outside and call Su Meng. But she didn't answer the phone. 2 days later Tianjin and Tu went to her house together, but Su Meng's father did not let him in to see his daughter. He just kept his daughter in the house. Tu said he would call the police but he didn't listen. Then Tianjin and he argued fiercely. Unexpectedly, their family quickly called the police to chase Tu and Tianjin back. At their last resort, the two had to go together to see Miss Xiaohong to ask about the law. It is known that according to the law under Article 239 of the Penal Code, the crime of kidnapping includes 2 cases. Firstly, the purpose is to kidnap people's property. The second is kidnapping others as hostages. Such an action carries the subjective purpose of the kidnapper. According to Tianjin and Tu's description, Xiaohong found that they were not in these 2 cases. Then she ran home to tell Ren Xianjing the news. Even though he heard the bad news, he was still very calm, only thinking that Tu took care of the money. It sounds cheap, but Ren Xianjing still went to meet Su Meng's father to talk at a cafe. At this time, Tianjin also went to see Su Meng's mother to talk, but she still refused to let Tianjin take care of her daughter. Suddenly Su Meng's parents received news from someone. Su Meng was taken to the emergency hospital at the same time as Ren Xianjing and Tianjin were standing next to him. The 2 people heard what happened and immediately ran there. When they arrived, Su Meng had died. Everyone felt very sad. Tianjin is even more hurt when he cannot maintain responsibility and protect her. Tu also remembers that girl very much. The 2 of them had many happy and sad memories together. At night Tianjin was so sad that he didn't want to go home. The whole family was worried and called him but he didn't answer the phone. The next morning Tianjin reached a very high place. He jumped from above into the water. He had a rope tied to his leg. Luckily, Tu ran to his rescue and brought him to shore for artificial respiration. Suddenly, Tu had a stomach ache and fainted, making Tianjin very worried. In the evening, he took Tu to the house of the people nearby. After she woke up, she asked Tianjin to prescribe medicine for her to take. Tu had just woken up when she suddenly fainted again, which made Tianjin even more scared. However, because Tu found the atmosphere too tense, he pretended to faint to stir up the atmosphere. After that, Tu's mouth kept mumbling and talking. When she wanted to go to the bathroom, Tianjin still sat outside and kept watch, afraid that she would faint again in there. The landlady thought the 2 of them were confessing their love to each other at the toilet. At this time, Tu was very confused when he was confessed to by Tianjin. She thought he liked Su Meng. However, he only considers Su Meng as his sister. But right now Tu still hasn't accepted Tianjin's feelings, waiting until the right moment to agree. Then suddenly Tu's stomach hurt even more now. Just then, Tianjin called his father and told him to go to the hospital for emergency treatment, but Tu didn't listen. At this time, Tianjin sat all night taking care of Tu. The next morning, Tianjin was praised by the landlady for being handsome, but also felt bad for his girlfriend. The landlady did not praise him wholeheartedly. Tu was also stronger now. The day before, the landlord's uncle, upon learning that Tianjin was Ren Xian Zheng's son, called many people here for a medical examination. As for Tutu, he worked hard to find medicine for everyone. At Ling Lan's house, she was still worried when she saw that the two of them still hadn't come home. The next evening Tianjin and Tutu sat lovingly beside the cool stream and abundant young water. After that, Tutu wanted to stay here forever and didn't want to go back to the city. Here the scenery is both beautiful and the atmosphere is good. In 3 days, the two of you can see a doctor. In the evening you can come here to sit and you can even go for a walk. Then this Tianjin had an idea. In the future the two of them would find a place like this to live and open a small shop. Both of them have not yet considered the future, but Tutu still sees an obstacle. There was also no medical clinic or classmates because Tutu crawled up from down there, so if she wants to be the successor, she must work 1,000 times harder than others to be able to hold this position of successor. After that, the two of them sat together lovingly when suddenly an old man came. It was late at night the next day when the two of them returned home. They sat on the sofa waiting for them. Ling Lan was bored and didn't bother to talk to the two of them, so she went upstairs, and Ren Xian Zheng immediately checked Tutu's health. Early the next morning, Tutu was rushing around when Tianjin sneaked up and was pushed in the chest by her. Tianjin was about to have a romantic relationship with Tutu when Shiyan walked out, making the two of them startled. At this time, the Y restaurant had many more people. Tutu kept walking back and forth, and the lovelorn Tianjin's eyes only turned to her, making her unable to concentrate on her work. At this moment, her legs suddenly reacted again. Ren Xian Zheng immediately ran to check her pulse. Sure enough, the clown's legs got better, making everyone very happy. But then Tutu and Ren Xian Zheng went to visit someone in the hospital. His current situation is very dangerous. He is about to be unable to hold on anymore. Ren Xian Zheng immediately took out a red bag. Inside the bag was a seed given to him by his master. Now Ren Xian Zheng leaves it to that person to illuminate the path he is about to take so he won't be afraid anymore. The next day, at the medical clinic, 2 old patients came early in the morning, saying they were looking for Ren Xian Zheng, but when I met him, he said he was a more handsome young man. Sure enough, it was none other than Tianjin. At this moment, he also arrived, making the 2 patients very happy. At this time, everyone is enjoying the dried mushrooms that 2 patients just brought here from the countryside as gifts, but only Xiao Hong did not eat. In the evening, Tutu was sitting in the forest when he suddenly saw a video that Su Meng had recorded. Tutu then texted Tianjin to come to his room to talk. As Tutu sat watching the video, she sat looking out at the bear, recalling the image of Su Meng. Tianjin went to the room and hugged Tutu, wanting to kiss her, but she pushed her aside to show Su Meng's video first. She recounted all her family's miserable stories in the recording. After Tianjin finished watching, he discovered that Su Meng's behavior was probably not curiosity about youth. It's because she is a patient with sex addiction. Tutu was also crazy and confused about what to do. After all, he was the one who harmed Su Meng by manipulating her psychology. At this time, Ling Lan suddenly passed Tutu's room. Overhearing a sentence, "I thought my son liked Su Meng." The next day Tianjin and Tutu went together to meet the person who harmed Su Meng. He was really blatant, not admitting that he was the one who harmed her. "And I think this has nothing to do with me." Tutu was very angry but could not do anything and was threatened again. Then the two went to lawyer Xiao Hong's house to ask about the law, so she immediately posted his picture on the newspapers. Jiangzhou University lecturer forced female student to death. The next evening Tianjin and Tutu sat in the cramped warehouse to talk. After talking with him, she now feels very scared in her heart about being Tianjin's girlfriend. However, he later makes her happy again. While the two were about to kiss, the lights turned off. The next day, Ren Xianzheng received many precious things left for him by Chu. This is wild ginseng 70 years old, alcoholic filtered water brewed for 20 years in Trangan Mountain. Next are 2 65-year-old jars of Tran by that Chu keeps. It is said that it is more expensive than gold, and then the musk produced at high latitudes is always locked in a safe. Finally, there is the cordyceps. All precious things were brought here by Chu's wife. I thought that was the end, but there was still money left by Chu to donate to the class that inherited this wish. Ren Xianzheng couldn't help but receive it. In the evening, Tianjin's whole family suddenly celebrated Tutu's birthday. The whole house turned off the lights until Tianjin took her home. But now Tutu found out that today is his birthday, so he was very surprised. Then she told everyone that the organization was wrong. Everyone asked Tutu where she wanted to go. Then she replied that she had to study hard to become the successor. Hearing those sincere words made everyone happy and surprised with Tutu's wish. This was the first time she celebrated her birthday, so she was still very confused. Tianjin immediately lit the birthday cake candles to make Tutu's wish. At this time, Tutu saw his grandfather sitting alone with a tiny piece of birthday cake. She immediately went out to talk and thanked him for celebrating her birthday. His face was very sad when there was only a little cake because his grandmother did not let him eat much. At night, the two of them sat and talked together. Grandma also knew that her grandson and Tutu were together. Grandma also said that the two of them were a perfect match. The next day, the grandfather kept laughing at Tianjin and said dark words that made the grandson very curious. And Tutu was sitting and talking with Ren Xianjing. Her face seemed very worried about something. Ren Xianjing went to see his ex-girlfriend, so when he got home that night, he had an argument with his wife. Li Quan went to Lu Changqing's office. Hearing a secret, he immediately went out crying and angry. Tutu was not Quan Shi's successor. Li Quan was so angry that he pushed Lu Changqing down. Sitting in the hospital, his legs kept shaking in fear and anxiety. Ren Xianjing's entire family also ran here to comfort Lu Changqing's family. The next day, doctors performed surgery on Lu Changqing successfully, but the person still hadn't woken up. Ren Xianjing also wanted to go in to check, but they refused to let him in. Suddenly Tutu came here and said something that surprised everyone. The doctors also agreed to let Ren Xianjing in, and Tutu also enthusiastically went in. Seeing this, Li Quan also insisted on following Ren Xianjing. Then all three people went in to examine Lu Changqing. Everyone outside was very worried. Everyone tried their best, but Lu Changqing still hadn't regained consciousness. The next day Tutu was in the hospital room examining Lu Changqing. When Li Quan walked in, his blood pressure suddenly increased rapidly. The doctors ran and panicked, but Tutu remained very calm as if nothing had happened. In the evening, Tutu went home to listen to Ren Xianjing teach a lesson about Chinese medicine, and Tutu discovered that Lu Changqing's condition was related to Zhao Li Quan. So when he got closer to Ren Xianjing, his blood pressure rose again. Ren Xianjing then said that starting tomorrow, people will be limited to visit Lu Changqing. Anyone is not allowed to visit, only Tutu is allowed when he is sick. After Tutu finished talking to Ren Xianjing and went into study, he fell asleep on the table. However, Tianjin was there to take care of him. He massaged her feet. After massaging Tutu's feet, Tianjin even kissed that hand. While standing and dancing happily, Shi Yan came and made her completely overwhelmed. At this time, Tutu was in the patient room when Tianjin arrived. He kept telling Tutu everything and she knew everything, even though she was just inside the patient all day. At this time, the two of them went out together. Tutu he messaged on the class group that Lu Changqing was awake. Now Tutu just sits and waits to see if Assistant Li Quan will come here so Tutu can scare him. Because Lu Changqing's matter is also related to Li Quan. However, he did not react at all when he saw the message. Tianjin also did not believe this, but now Tutu told Tianjin that Li Quan lied. He once came to find Lu Changqing. When he left, he was still healthy and someone could testify. So Tutu guessed that when Li Quan left, Lu Changqing fell in front of him. At this time, Li Quan also suddenly ran over. According to Tutu's judgment, he insisted on going inside, but Tutu wouldn't let him in. He then called Lu Changqing's family over. Fortunately, Xing directed Lu Changqing's family into the hospital room. Li Quan immediately looked at Tutu with eyes full of hatred. Ren Xianjing then went to check on Lu Changqing. It was discovered that Tutu had lied, but he still acted along to reassure Lu Changqing's family. Then Ren Xianjing and Tutu went outside the hospital and said something that made Tutu cry. In the evening, Li Quan secretly tried to go into Lu Changqing's hospital room when Xing and Tutu arrived. Ren Xianjing's family is currently drinking to celebrate his birthday. After celebrating his birthday at home, Tianjin immediately went to the hospital to wash Tutu's feet. A real boyfriend is smart and sophisticated. You are always the best. At this time, Li Quan was still standing in a corner monitoring the situation. Tutu told a story about 15 days ago. While she was cleaning glasses, Zihong stood next to her and confessed his love to her. Tianjin was outside, busy waiting for the whole country to spill out. His ignorance made her smile brightly. The next day, everyone came to see Lu Changqing's situation. Li Quan immediately said that she was lying, but he did not expect that he would actually wake up at this time. Li Quan also had to swallow his saliva and didn't dare say a word. Lu Changqing opened his eyes and looked at each person. Sure enough, when he saw Li Quan, he immediately had an unusual expression. In the evening, he called the nurse to trick Tutu into going out so he could go into Lu Changqing's hospital room. While Tutu was standing in the elevator, the woman's senses became sharp. She ran back to Lu Changqing's hospital room, but fortunately Tutu ran back in time to pull Li Quan out. The next day Li Quan called many people here to visit Lu Changqing. Tutu then stopped everyone. At this time, Li Quan was seriously demanding that everyone be let inside. Then he got angry and threw the papers in her face saying Tutu was a fake, the successor of Quan Shi and just an illegitimate child. Then Tutu got angry and beat him. Suddenly Ren Xianjing appeared and hugged Tutu. Said that indeed Tutu was not the successor of the Quan Shi sect. However, there is no one standing here more than her. Because Tutu was Ren Xianjing's daughter, Ling Lan's wife immediately left angrily after hearing this. The next day, her grandparents had to go out into the cold to persuade Ling Lan to go home. At this time, Tutu was at home. Xing held his head and thought, "It was only later that I opened my mouth to talk to my best friend. Well, I have a father, but that father is Ren Xianjing, also my boyfriend's father." At this time, Tianjin was at home was angry. He doesn't believe that Tutu was his daughter. Tianjin was extremely heartbroken, every sentence he said pierced his father's heart. Then he went out for a walk alone in the cold weather. As for Tutu, he is still sitting sadly at home with his friend. Life really shouldn't hang around for them. Suddenly, Tutu stood up and ran to the hospital in Luchangqing. While she was sitting in the hospital, she immediately sent a text message to Ren Xianzheng. The next day when Ren Xianzheng woke up, he no longer remembered anyone. He just folded his hands and called the people in front of him Bodhisattva. But when Li Quan and Tutu went out, he became normal and told Ren Xianzheng everything. The next day Tianjin pulled his suitcase and moved out of the house. Then he went to the hospital to give Tutu food. She ate very well after he left, eating the dumplings made her remember the memories with Tianjin and cry. At this time, he was also sitting in a hidden corner, quietly watching her eat with tears streaming down his face. The next day Ren Xianzheng exposed all of Li Quan's truth. He had to kowtow to the ground to apologize to Ren Xianzheng and beg for forgiveness. Ren Xianzheng ordered him to personally confess all his crimes, otherwise he would be punished by going to prison. When Li Quan left, Ren Xianzheng immediately sent someone to follow him. However, he did not go to the police station to confess, but ran quickly and jumped, trying to find a way to end his rotten life. Luckily, a follower saved him, so that evening he took him back to meet Ren Xianzheng. He was angry and took a pile of books and hit Li Quan. Then Ren Xianzheng slowly sat down and said sincere words to him. The next day Tianjin called Tutu, saying he was going to the town clinic for a few days. Because there was a flu epidemic recently, Mr. Ha called Tianjin there to help examine him. After hearing the phone call, Tutu immediately ran out to watch him leave. Tianjin also arrived to check the pulse of each patient here. And the next day while he was examining the patients, suddenly a girl ran to ask for help. Immediately he was at his bedside. He felt his pulse and checked his health condition, which was quite serious at this time. Tianjin immediately ran out and called his family to ask about the flu epidemic in the past. And Tianjin is on duty in the epidemic area. Hearing that, his grandfather immediately advised him to go home quickly. Then Ren Xianzheng ran out and said he would be there tomorrow. At night, Ren Xianzheng's whole family prepared things for him to go there. When he arrived, he was present in the epidemic area to help people here. A few days later, the epidemic had spread everywhere, and Ren Xianzheng had to flee to Wuhan again. At this time, Tutu was still taking care of Lu Changqing's illness. Suddenly she asked why the teacher fell, but he replied that he didn't remember anything. And Tianjin was calling his family when the family learned that Ren Xianzheng was in Wuhan. They all panicked because that place was the center of the epidemic. After Ling Lan's whole family finished answering the phone call, Ling Lan immediately decided to go pick up Zheng Yu's parents and Tutu home. Many long days passed, and the epidemic grew faster and faster. Ren Xianzheng must work at full capacity to take care of all the sick patients. Tutu had now dragged his luggage home, greeting his grandparents and maternal grandparents. Then she immediately ran out. Tianjin is also busy every day examining and treating patients at the medical center. Everyone is very busy transporting medicine to hospitals. Half a month later, Lu Changqing also stood up and learned to walk. Tutu had no choice but to video call Ren Xianzheng. Suddenly, Ren Xianzheng started to have a slight cough. Tutu was extremely worried. The next day Ling Lan decided to go to the hospital with her husband. He was coughing a lot at this time, but he was tested twice and it was negative. Now, to help her husband, his wife Ling Lan takes turns helping him take care of them all. That evening Ren Xianzheng was weak, but luckily Ling Lan came to take care of him. His coughing became more and more severe, and blood followed his coughing and flowed out. Seeing her husband struggling with such work, the wife had to go to the bathroom to suppress her tears. Tutu and Tianjin are in two different places, but perhaps their minds are always free for each other. The next day, on International Women's Day, even though he was sick, Ren Xianzheng immediately gave his wife a rose. Just one rose branch made her very happy because if she wanted, people would find a way that wouldn't go wrong. At this time he also talked about the fact that Tutu was not his biological daughter. Ling Lan felt extremely surprised, but in her heart she was still a little angry with her husband. That night Tutu was still in the hospital room with Ren Xianzheng. She just sat looking out the window and sighed. After that, he heard Ren Xianzheng's advice and ran out. The evening of the next day, Tutu sat sadly looking at some of the pictures Tianjin sent him. His face was sad, so he decided to call him immediately. On this side, Tianjin also received the call, but he didn't have the courage to pick up the phone, so Tutu texted him to ask before he answered. Many days later the peach blossoms also bloomed. At this time, Zihong was dancing with the children at the graduation ceremony of the legacy class. After Zihong finished dancing, he went out and pulled Tutu out with him, but she doesn't know what dancing is. Seeing this, Tianjin immediately came out and demonstrated a few basic punches, surprising everyone. Xiaohan also came out to join the fun with everyone. Then suddenly, Shiyan took the balloons and knelt in front of her and proposed. She finally agreed. Shiyan immediately put the ring on her finger and the two hugged each other happily. Zihong saw this and also pulled Tutu out to propose and she refused. At this time, Ling Lan said that Tutu was her daughter-in-law, making everyone shocked. Old insider Tutu and Tianjin don't understand anything, but when they heard that, the two happily went to hug each other. Everyone around them also enthusiastically supported the fireworks that shot up brilliantly to congratulate the couple. In the evening, Tutu and Tianjin sat together on a chair by the lakeside and talked. She immediately gave him back the card necklace. He was surprised and didn't know why Tutu got it. And consider that bracelet now as a gift she gave to Tianjin. A few days after the professional qualification test, traditional Chinese medicine doctors officially begin both theory and practice. After the test ended, Ren Xian Zhang and Shiyan's entire family were standing outside waiting for the two girls. As soon as Tutu came out, he jumped on Tianjin and hugged him around dozens of times. The next day, everyone went to the mountains together to heal after the stressful exam season. However, only Ren Xian Zhang came out and stood alone to look at the place thoughtfully. Tutu saw that and went out to talk to him. After that, everyone went up the mountain to visit the grave of a master who passed away many years ago. Everyone is now reciting the ritual ceremony presided over by Tutu. Perhaps thanks to fate and under Ren Xian Zhang's devoted care and guidance, Tutu's love for good traditional culture grew stronger and stronger. The carefree girl gradually becomes a more mature girl in reason as well as work. Through this process, the teacher imparts knowledge to the younger generation and is the one who guides the younger generation. Use kindness, sincerity, and altruism to continue the good tradition to preserve the dignity of the medical profession. Okay, this is the end of the movie. Please take 3 seconds to subscribe to the channel to support us. Thank you for watching our channel. See you in the next movie.